Greetings, Mavericks and new viewers. Tonight, direct and live from the Maverick News Network World Studios. This is Maverick News with Rick Walker.
Welcome back to the Maverick News channel, the Maverick News Network, everybody. Great to have you all here again tonight. The war on drugs 2.0. Yeah, we'll talk about that because I'm not so sure that it is an actual war on drugs. A lot of people, smart people, smarter than me, looking at this now, picking up on what Trump is laying down, and I'm not sure that what he's really doing is battling drugs. That seems to maybe be a pretext, an excuse, a manufactured reason for taking military action against various countries. We'll get into that. Also tonight, Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, saying the U.S. needs to take steps to collapse Russia's economy. We also see that a detainee, a Mexican man, has died in ICE custody at an Arizona detention center. We'll tell you about that as well. And Trump punching back on the movement that he's taking towards sending in troops to Chicago. We'll show you a fiery exchange between him and a reporter today. So stay with me. I'll be right back after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are Maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay. So over the past few days, we've been talking about this alleged drug boat and the U.S. with its warships blowing it out of the water. Maduro in Venezuela saying that the whole thing was fake, AI, or at least people within his administration saying that. And they're saying that it was Trump trying to create a false narrative to justify his military actions down around Venezuela. And indeed, with all the warships that he has amassed there, and now sending in, I believe he's sending 20, is it 20 F-35s, or maybe, anyway, sending F-35s. We know that for sure. We've talked about that as well. And Maduro now surfacing again. Remember, this is a guy now who has a $50 million U.S. bounty on his head. Trump putting that money up so that it puts pressure on the regime down there, or the administration, however you want to look at it, calling those guys, those 11 people that they allegedly killed, if it was a real video, 11 people killed somewhere off the coast of Venezuela in an airstrike by U.S. forces, taking out a vessel that I don't think it was big enough to make it from Venezuela to the United States, loaded with what appeared to be bags of something aboard. In any event, Maduro says that in this clip today, he says that Javier Milei and Elon Musk are members of a satanic cult and has linked them to the occult forces behind Adolf Hitler. And man, this sounds a lot like some of the stuff I hear coming from the internet these days, and even some people around me. Says I was told exactly what to do with the devil.
Hay que hacer con el diablo, con los símbolos
The diabolical symbols used by Elon Musk.
Miren,
check out his profile. Diabolical symbols on his chest.
Son sectas.
They are satanic cults of U.S. power.
Del poder estadounidense que han articulado
They have articulated sects like the one. Oh, let me go back. I missed that. Of Javier Milei.
Como la de Milei.
Or in Venezuela, satanic cults like fascism.
Venezuela, sectas satánicas como el fascismo este.
This one who attacked our country. It's a spiritual fight between good and evil. Between hate, lies, hoax, fascism.
La mentira, el engaño, el fascismo.
Because you guys know all the occultism behind Hitler.
Ustedes saben todo el ocultismo que hubo detrás de Hitler.
It is the strangest of times. Or maybe not. Maybe it's just that we lived through a peaceful period and became unaware, thinking the threats had subsided. But it seems a lot of this stuff is back. What is really going on? Trump saying that it's all about the drugs. It's all about the cartels. Well, we've seen, certainly ramped up since the last Trump administration, Trump 1.0. There's a core group of MAGA enthusiasts who really have been pushing, even when Trump was not in power, but was running what I would say was a shadow government of sorts in the U.S. And these people at the core of this one faction of MAGAism in the States really pushed and continues to push behind the scenes for U.S. intervention in places like Mexico, like Canada, like Venezuela, Panama. And they point to the drug issue as the pretext for everything that they want done, which is to not use a traditional police type intervention or a collaborative policing operation with a country like Mexico. They want military action. And as such, Trump is responding either to those people within his circle behind the scenes, or he's doing it on his own. But regardless, whatever is motivating him to do it, he's doing it. And he is calling these people that he's targeting in these countries narco-terrorists, using the terrorist label as justification for doing, well, pretty much anything that he wants. Because if you're a terrorist, then you're not subject to the same, even international rules, and it leaves you open to being killed, which is what we saw with those 11 people aboard that small vessel, whatever that was. Why there were 11 people on a boat like that, I don't know why they needed 11 people, if that was even true. In any event, I'm not the only one taking note of this. Even over on Times Radio today, Sarah Baxter, director of the Marie Colvin Center for International Reporting, was a guest, and will run a clip of Trump talking about exactly what we've been discussing here. And then there's this comment from her, from Sarah Baxter, reinforcing really what I've been talking about for the last, well, couple of months, really, off and on. And so what I'm saying is there's some people are really beginning to take a look at what Trump is doing and really questioning what is going on. Here we go. So first Trump, then a little portion from that interview today on Times Radio.
Look, China, what they're doing with fentanyl is a terrible thing. It comes through Canada and it comes through Mexico, but a lot of it's coming through Venezuela. Venezuela's been a very bad actor, and we understand that. And when you look at that boat, you see the bags of whatever it is there. Those bags what those bags represent? Hundreds of thousands of dead people in the United States.
Now, off to the US, where President Trump has called for action on any Venezuelan military airplanes that may be sent to fly over American naval vessels. Here he is speaking at a press conference at the Oval Office.
Would you like to see regime change in Venezuela?
Well, we're not talking about that, but we are talking about the fact that you had an election which was a very strange election, to put it mildly. I'm being very nice when I say that. I can only say that billions of dollars of drugs are pouring into our country from Venezuela. The prisons of Venezuela have been opened up to our country. They've taken their prisoners, the worst prisoners, murderers, Tren de Aragua. The worst prisoners that you can ever imagine are now happily living in the United States of America. Now, many of them we've gotten out. We took over, and ISIS was gone, and pretty amazing. But we never fought to win, and now we... Look, China, what they're doing with fentanyl is a terrible thing. It comes through Canada, and it comes through Mexico, but a lot of it's coming through Venezuela. Venezuela's been a very bad actor, and we understand that. And when you look at that boat, you see the bags of whatever it is there. Those bags what those bags represent? Hundreds of thousands of dead people in the United States. That's what they represent. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, your reaction to the job in Ukraine.
Let's get straight to the point. $1,000 a day.
Actually, that's it. I'm going to let this roll.
For a select group of Canadians, this is now their reality. It's a simple...
This is something I've really taken note of. We ran, this is not related, a couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago maybe, I was running a video of an economist, and it was all AI. And we had Johnny from Toronto on, and because he sent me that video, and it was of economist Richard Wolff, and it wasn't Richard Wolff. It was all AI, voice generated, all AI. Do you think this is real of Kevin O'Leary?
Powerful stream of cash flow, adding up to $7,000 a week or over $28,000 a month. And who's getting in on this? People who recognize a winner when they see one. My name is Kevin O'Leary. You've seen me on television. I don't invest in hobbies, and I don't tolerate losing.
I let this roll because I'm seeing a ton of this stuff out there now. This is an ad designed to trick people. I'm pretty sure that's all AI. And I've been seeing Professor Jeffrey Sachs over the last day or two. Elon Musk is on a YouTube series now, and it's not Elon Musk. It looks like him, sounds like him, and I'm sure that it is fooling probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Be very, very careful. The AI is getting better every day, and here it is, front and center again. Take note, especially if you're not that media savvy. You need to be very careful, because these people are going to take your money.
Well, we'll work that out. We'll help them. Look, we want to save a lot of lives, so we'll do something with that. I think people expect.
On Venezuela, you've sent F-35s down to Puerto Rico. You've sent naval vessels into the Caribbean. You're concerned about drugs being illegally sent into the ocean.
Yeah.
How do you describe this buildup, this situation?
Well, I just think it's strong. We're strong on drugs. We don't want drugs killing our people. I believe we lost 300,000. You know, they always say 95, 100,000. I believe they've been saying that for 20 years. I believe we lost 300,000 people last year. I know families that lost their son. Those families will never be the same. I know a family lost a daughter, a beautiful daughter. In fact, it was like she took something that she thought was like a minor deal, and it turned out to be riddled out with fentanyl. The size of the head of a pin, and you're dead. And no, we're stopping the drugs. We're going to save a lot of people. Look, we had 11,000 murderers dropped into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. And when I see boats coming in, like loaded up the other day with all sorts of drugs, probably fentanyl mostly, but all sorts of drugs, and we're going to take them out. And if people want to have fun going on the high seas or the low seas, they're going to be in trouble. I will tell you, boat traffic is substantially down in the area that happened. They called it the runway. It's a runway to the United States. And boat traffic is very substantially down on the runway. You can imagine why. I think anybody that saw that is going to say, I'll take a pass. I don't even know about fishermen. They may say, I'm not getting on the boat. I'm not going to take a chance.
What happens if Venezuela flies jets over U.S. naval vessels again?
Well, I would say they're going to be in trouble. We'll let them know about that. We heard that happen, but it wasn't really over, not like they described. But I would say, General, if they do that, you have a choice of doing anything you want, okay? If they fly in a dangerous position, I would say that you can, you or your captains can make the decision as to what they want to do, all right? Sure.
Well, this comes days after Venezuela is reported to have flown its military aircraft near a US vessel for the second time in as many days. Now, that follows a deadly strike on what the White House claimed was a drug-running boat from the South American nation. Plus, the US leader has set his sights on the city of Chicago, threatening to send in the National Guard. And he's renamed the Department of Defense the Department of War. Well, let's get the very latest from the British-American journalist Sarah Baxter, director of the Mary Colvin Centre for International Reporting.
Here
Sarah,
we go.
good afternoon. Thanks for joining us.
Hang on. Okay, we've got Sarah here now. Here we go.
Is Trump effectively declaring war on Venezuela?
He virtually is. I mean, he's almost taunting Venezuela to do something that would cause America to overreact. Or, you know, it's like, go on, just tempt me, baby, and, you know, and then I'll let you, and then you'll be sorry. They've put, Trump has put a price on the Venezuelan leader, Nicolas Maduro's head. And it all seems to be beyond saber rattling and actually perhaps aiming at regime change. You know, I was struck by the fact that Donald Trump reveres the Gilded Age of tariffs, etc. This was also an age where America, you know, the late 19th century, where America was really asserting itself over Latin America and called it its backyard. And I think Trump is genuinely keen to have a fight with Venezuela. But of course, he's supposed to be the guy who despises war.
When it comes to the incident with the boat that was destroyed by the US Navy, has there been any proof that drugs were on board? Do we know who was on board?
No, there's been very little information about that. And a lot of people are very disturbed by the civil liberties implications of just taking out a boat. Now, I should say plenty of Americans think, great, because it's a terrific deterrence, isn't it? If you just sort of assassinate people on a boat, and who may or may not be drug smugglers. Perhaps drug smugglers are going to think twice about coming into America's shores. So reaction is mixed. But there was quite a lot of concern, and emerging concern actually, because this happened quite late yesterday, about a tweet or an X post by J.D. Vance in which she said, I don't give an SH1T, to put it politely.
Thank you.
If people think that what was done was a war crime, because you're not supposed to just use America's might to eliminate alleged foes without any due process. And Rand Paul, who is a rather independent-minded Republican, but has been pretty Trumpian in a lot of his views, has absolutely lashed out at J.D. Vance for saying this is completely un-American values, and that you have to have the rule of law. You can't just say, oh, American go about committing these kind of war crimes with impunity. And I think that's a shot at J.D. Vance, because Rand Paul will almost certainly want to challenge him for the presidency in 2028. And there are splits in MAGA developing over all kinds of things. I mean, partly under pressure from the economy. But Trump is not getting the pass that he did from people. I think he's being seen as slightly more lame duck and more vulnerable. And certainly people don't want J.D. Vance to succeed him, or at least people who think they ought to be president themselves. So this is becoming a little crucible. This Venezuela strike and the strike on the boats and cartels, and moreover, the thing you alluded to earlier about sending troops into Chicago.
Well, let's talk about that, because of course...
Yeah.
Okay. So, I'll put the link to that whole exchange in the chat over on Rumble One. And there you go, everybody. It's in the chat. So if you want to go watch that entire episode of Times Radio, it's right there. Now, I ran that because it is important to note that a lot of people are now beginning to look at everything going on, and they're wondering, like, what is this? Is this really a war on drugs? And Sarah, said, no, it's looking more like it's some sort of an attempted regime change in Venezuela. And I think that there is probably some real truth to that. We know that Trump, not a big fan of Maduro, and there were efforts made to destabilize things during the first Trump administration. Now he's back and he's going full tilt on this. But also, when you look at everything going on, what's he talking about? Trump in that Oval Office scrum with the media. He's mentioning fentanyl and Canada, China, Venezuela, Mexico. Why? Well, we talked about that just the other night, again, in more detail. Some believe there's a plan to carve the world up into spheres of dominance. And if you look at it through that lens, what Trump is doing here right now with all of this makes absolute perfect sense, because he's now targeting all these countries, these pieces of the puzzle that he needs to put together in order to create this one giant landmass that is completely dominated, controlled under the sovereign control of the United States, from Greenland all the way down to Panama and beyond, even in this Western hemisphere. So keep your eyes peeled, because there is a lot more coming on this front. Of that, I'm pretty darn sure. Rand Paul absolutely has J.D. Vance in his sights, and all of this related to what we're talking about. Rand Paul, I don't think, is one of those who is part of this equation, this carving up of the world into really three spheres of dominance: the Asian area, the Eurasia area going to Russia, Asia going to China, and the Western Hemisphere going to the United States. Here's Rand Paul with his comments today over on Newsmax, the ones that Sarah was alluding to.
That cartel boat, which, I personally think that's a brilliant deterrent to this kind of activity. Is that how you see it?
Not really.
I guess, it's hard to have any sympathy for drug dealers, trying to import product into our country. But at the same time, I guess you might ask the question, where does it end? Are we the world's policemen, the international policemen? Are we going to be blowing people up off the coast all around the world trying to interdict? Really, I'm not sure we have the finances to be the world's policemen. So on the face of it, sounds good. Nobody's going to have any kind of lost love for a bunch of drugs going down in the ocean and killing some gang members. Yeah. But at the same time, really, where does it end? And is it really the constitutional duty of our government to be, policing international drug trade everywhere around the world?
If it's Tren de Aragua sending drugs into this country, though, that there's obviously a line there. I don't think we're going to be bombing people taking drugs from Africa into Europe, right?
Well, no, if it's coming into our country, I think interdicting drugs coming into our country, absolutely, there is a U.S. interest in that. But that's a real question. I don't know the details of where the drugs were going. They may well have been coming to our country, but this was done off the coast of another country. So it is a little bit different. It is unique. Hadn't been done really in decades, where we have a kinetic action against another group inside their territorial waters.
Yeah.
Yeah, no due process here, no proof, no trial, and that is very concerning to people who worry about people's rights, like me. If you take somebody's rights away, then they can take your rights away, right? If you let them. So we need to be, I think, very careful here. We're on very, very, very thin ice, and this is. You may like the result, but it's how you're getting there that should be of real concern, because how you do it matters, because you're looking here at an authoritarian approach to justice. And in this case, it's somebody's acting as judge, jury, and executioner all in one fell swoop. So I'm worried about it. Let's take a little break. We'll be back on the other side.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay, I'm going to play this transition, and then we'll get into some of the history of the war on.
Someone very profoundly once said many years ago that if fascism ever comes to America, it'll come in the name of liberalism.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on Earth.
The entire world is watching.
Every dictator, every crazy dictator in the world is watching.
The world is watching. On TV, the entire world is watching. On social media.
But the entire world is watching, and yes, they are seeing what we have apparently bravely been willing to say that others are thinking.
Stand for freedom. Literally stand for freedom. Let's get this done. The entire world is watching.
We're at war with the most dangerous enemy that has ever faced mankind in his long climb from the swamp to the stars.
Maverick News. Maverick News. Maverick News.
Let me have more control of my own destiny.
The world is watching.
Okay, let's take a look at a little bit of that exchange between Rand Paul and J.D. Vance on X. Right here it is. 22 hours ago, JD, I don't give a shit. Vance says killing people he accuses of a crime is the, quote, highest and best use of the military. Did he ever read To Kill a Mockingbird? Did he ever wonder what might happen if the accused were immediately executed without trial or representation? What a despicable and thoughtless sentiment it is to glorify killing with someone without a trial. And wow. He says right here, killing cartel members who poison our fellow citizens is the highest and best use of our military. Yeah. Like I said the other night, it seems like a bit of overkill, if you'll excuse the pun. Fighter jets, warships, and what are you really taking out? You're taking out guys in speedboats? Seems to me you don't need that kind of heavy artillery to do it. It just seems like, wow, talk about outgunned. That's what they are. Now it's looking like again, Trump may be targeting Mexico for drone strikes, again using the war on drugs, or his new war on drugs, as the pretext for it. Also mentioning Canada. When I think back to my younger days, my youth, the war on drugs was, always in the headlines. Started really, I think, as I recall, kind of under Nixon. Reagan grabbed a hold of it as well and really went to town with it. Bush continued it. Here, this is an image from October 14th, 1982. Reagan declared a war on drugs, doubling down on the initiative started by Nixon. Here, I've got an image of him signing from that era. Oh, yes. Nothing new. And then there's the whole Just Say No campaign. And so much went into that, so many resources. And yet we know that even the CIA kind of got caught at times dabbling in drug distribution itself as part of, larger covert operations, even under Clinton. So some real hypocrisy there. And the whole war on drugs, ultimately, well, it kind of failed. Reagan escalated the campaign with a focus on law enforcement, interdiction, punitive measures. The Anti-Drug Abuse Acts of 86 and 1988 increased penalties, established mandatory minimum sentences for drug offenses, and allocated billions for enforcement and prevention. And then there was that whole Just Say No campaign, fronted by First Lady Nancy Reagan. She promoted drug prevention through education and public messaging. I also remember when I was still in school, they had the Scared Straight programs where they would talk to the kids. They'd come in and talk to us about, all the terrible things that would happen if you got thrown in jail, and, what a life of crime would lead to, and what the the negative effects of drug use were. The crack cocaine epidemic disproportionately affected, really urban communities, heightened public fear at the time. There were, stories amplified by media of drug-related violence, and political pressure grew to address the whole issue decisively. The administration back then, Reagan, framed drugs as a moral and national security threat, linking them to crime and international cartels, which is what we see going on even now. And then President Bush, George H.W. Bush, maintained the aggressive stance, created the Office of National Drug Control Policy, the ONDCP, in 1989, led by a drug czar, William Bennett. And Bush's national drug control strategy emphasized interdiction, international cooperation, targeting Latin American cartels, and continued domestic enforcement. At that time, I think it was pretty clear that they really were targeting drugs. Federal spending on the war on drugs reached $12 billion every year by the early 1990s. It turned itself into kind of an industry, but it all failed. And the war on drugs is widely regarded as having failed to achieve its primary goals of reducing drug use and trafficking. The main reasons, really, despite massive spending, drug use remained steady or increased all through those programs. By the early 1990s, surveys showed that cocaine and marijuana use persisted, with crack remaining prevalent in urban areas, disproportionately affecting visible minorities. The National Institute on Drug Abuse reported at that time that 5.8% of Americans used illicit drugs. That survey going back to 1991, similar to pre-Reagan levels. And so the focus on supply side interdiction, which is, say, targeting cartels, did little to curb demand as drugs remained widely available and prices dropped, indicating market resilience and that there was still an ongoing supply. And they had harsh sentencing laws, like the 100-to-1 disparity between penalties for crack versus powder cocaine, led to skyrocketing incarceration rates, disproportionately affected Black and Latino communities. And by 1990, the U.S. prison population doubled to over 1 million, with drug offenses driving much of the increase. So this all eroded trust in law enforcement, strained communities without addressing the root causes, like poverty, and really what it comes right down to is addiction. And then there were, problems with the system, underfunding of treatment and prevention programs, focusing really on enforcement of laws and trying to intercept and prevent the supply from making it onto the streets and into people's possession. And there were international failures, efforts to curb drug production in countries like Colombia and Bolivia, through military aid or crop eradication, disrupted local economies but failed to reduce drug flows. Cartels adapted. They shifted routes, methods, and that's, I think, probably what you're going to see now. If they really did blow up a boat and it isn't AI, it's probably unlikely that you're going to see many speedboats out on the high seas tomorrow or even tonight. But they'll find other ways. They always do, unfortunately. The focus on enforcement diverted resources, too, from addressing systemic issues like poverty, education, healthcare, which fueled more drug use. The economic costs of enforcement, coupled with lost productivity from incarceration, strained public budgets. And racial disparities in arrests, it's true. I mean, you can look at the stats. It was true. I think it still is largely true that you have people of visible minorities, more of them being arrested for drug offenses than, say, white people. Is that because white people are less prone to drug use or addiction? I don't think so. Drug traffickers proved highly adaptable back in those days and still are. They used new smuggling techniques and exploited global trade networks. So the war on drugs in that area, in the Reagan and Bush eras, began as a response to a real public health crisis that was really driven by a punitive, enforcement-heavy approach rooted in political and moral rhetoric. And I think it was also wrapped in some hypocrisy, and it failed to reduce drug use at all, really, or availability due to its focus on supply over demand, underinvestment in treatment, and unintended consequences like mass incarceration and racial disparities. And the legacy of those policies continues to shape debates on drug policy today. I would say that there's no question the efforts of that time, the media campaigns at that time, the propaganda at that time, certainly even today influences me and the way that I view things and my distaste for drug dealers, drugs in general. So I think in that way, in some respects, it's had a positive impact on me. I was pretty much scared straight, but not everyone. And you can see that overall, those programs just didn't work. But what is going on today, as many political analysts out there beginning to clue in on, is that this is not like the war on drugs 1.0. This war on drugs 2.0 under Trump, there's more going on here than meets the eye. But I think what's really happened here is, while there is a real serious problem, Trump has reached back into the past to pull this rabbit out of a bag of tricks, to hold that out in front as the justification for these military style actions. Not even military style. These are outright military actions in various countries like Venezuela and in Panama. Well, almost. And yeah, we saw jets down at Puerto Rico, which is U.S. controlled anyway. But also, I'm just distracted here for a moment. Cosmo is going crazy. I can hear him in the background. I need to take a break. I shall return. Stay with me.
Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, so I just thought what we'll do is let's just see what's going on on the Mexico front, where we also have U.S. troops amassed, and we've been seeing, especially since about April, a lot of talk about the U.S. maybe launching drone strikes. And I believe Jesse Waters was just on Fox News over the last day talking about it again. So here's, when you just punch in drones, Mexico cartels, here's just from the middle of last month, drone bombed a vehicle used by Jalisco New Generation cartel. So this is, I guess, footage that they're saying was a drone. Get the audio off that. Now, was that a U.S. drone? I don't know. The R5 cartel members seemingly used. Okay, so this is another cartel bombing a cartel. Anyone who says Mexico is fine is out of their mind. The cartels are about to put the war in war on drugs. They are professionalizing, adopting standard kit and marching now, deploying armed drones. So they're saying that the cartels are arming themselves to go up against the U.S. military. U.S. drone stalks members of the Mexican Sinaloa cartel. The cartel opens fire on the drone after tracking it with equipment. This was June 22nd.
He's got a rifle with him, too.
Oh, he's telling the guy, look. Is that the top of the flat mountain?
Yeah.
So that's Chapitos people.
Yep. He's got a rifle with him, too. Oh, he's going to try to shoot at me right now.
That's a little kid. Shooting.
Oh, yeah, he shot. You can see the muzzle flash.
Oh.
There you go.
Shots fired. He's getting ready to fire.
Did he fire?
Yeah, he was shooting. He's still shooting.
They're talking to somebody. Someone else is... Oh, there we go. That guy's shooting at me. There we go.
There we go. What's that?
Oh, he's telling the guy, look.
What else are we getting here? Okay, we already saw that. We've seen Mexican cartels now use drones to take out rival groups. This is from RT. That was June 6th. Rubio, 5 hours ago, U.S. ready to crush cartels with new alliance. Marco Rubio warned in Mexico and Ecuador that terrorism has no place in our hemisphere. He announced nearly $20 million in U.S. aid to Ecuador, including $6 million in drones, and branded Los Lobos and Los Chineros as terrorist groups, calling them animals, savages. And Rubio also said the Trump administration is open to reestablishing a U.S. military base in Ecuador if voters approve it in December. Trump teases possible strikes on Venezuela cartels. You'll find out. That was 6 hours ago. Back to the drone shots, additional ones. Vehicles being taken out by drones from one cartel to another. Under President Trump, this is back in February, the CIA secretly deployed MQ-9 Reaper drones over Mexico to surveil drug cartels. This is from CNN. No secret anymore, CNN. Feb 18th, CIA secretly deploys MQ-9 Reaper drones over Mexico to track drug cartels as part of Trump's plan. And this is August 13th. Jesse Waters, prime time. Cartels killing Americans are officially in the Pentagon's crosshairs. Confirmed CIA drones are over Mexico mapping cartel compounds. Pentagon is drafting land, air, and sea strike plans. After Trump's cartel terrorist, blah, blah, blah. And this is August 14th, the U.S. CBP MQ-9 Guardian drone. Launched from San Angelo, Texas, around 4 a.m. Eastern Time, August 13th, journeying over 800 miles and spiraling west of Mexico City in cartel territory before vanishing from public trackers, reportedly operating at Mexico's request. This rare mission likely targeted high-value LNFM cartel sites amid an intensifying U.S. crackdown.
All right, folks, Trump is now sending in the drones into Mexico. The MQ-9 Guardian drone made a successful mission. What it was doing, I'm going to guess, mapping out, tracking, and tracing the cartels. Looks like what I would imagine precision strikes to follow. So yeah, Claudia Sheinbaum says that we're not going to be sending our military into Mexico, but that doesn't mean the drones aren't going. So this is going to get interesting. Precision strikes is what I've always said they're going to start doing, and now the drones have begun. So let's see what happens from here, folks.
And this is back in April. Will the U.S. use drones to strike cartels in Mexico? Lawmakers say we need to focus on our own turf first, considering we don't even know whose jurisdiction it is to take cartel drones down when they cross into the U.S. The Trump administration was sent a request by Representative John McGuire, blah, blah, blah. Congressman John Ciscomani says he's confident Mexico will step up and help combat the cartels, but emphasized that every tool available should be utilized if U.S. personnel are at risk at the southern border.
Law enforcement can act against the Mexican cartels. They need that guidance by Thursday. Arizona Congressman Juan Ciscomani says that the U.S. does have that technology to intercept these drones and to take them down, but they need the clarity from the administration. Take a listen.
So the threat is real. And yes, that can be used against our agents. That can be used against our law enforcement. That could very well be used against our own civilian citizens of just on the border regions. We need to use, again, every tool possible to protect our citizens. And we need to first address and go through every option out there. And one of the main ones is cooperating with the Mexican government.
Okay, so Ciscomani went on to say that they want to make sure that they're making moves in collaboration with Mexico. He says he is confident that Mexico is going to step up and help combat the cartels, but again, emphasize that the U.S. needs to use every tool available for if U.S. personnel and service members are at risk and in order to keep Americans safe. Now, this all comes as President Trump actually just issued a national memorandum invoking national emergency powers, increasing the Pentagon's presence and role down here in border security when it comes to the military involvement as well, Kelly.
All right. So,
well, everything is escalating, so we'll just have to sit back and watch, I guess. And we'll have to see if there's any government overreach in this new war on drugs. Trump's war on drugs, the war on drugs 2.0. But will it be more successful than the first? I suppose it depends on how you measure success and what the real goal is.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals. Defenders of individual rights and freedoms. Credible. Trusted. Grounded in reality. Maverick News. Maverick News. Defending free speech. Free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Too late. Too late. Too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
And where civil liberties are concerned, there is heightened concern about Trump sending troops into more cities. Most notably, most concern at the moment would be Chicago. And here's an exchange today between Trump and a reporter who asks if Trump is getting ready to go to war. I guess, not with Venezuela, but with Chicago.
That's fake news. Well, why would the Department of Defense? Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second rate. We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our city.
Can you hear that? That's very low audio. She says, are you ready to go to war with Chicago?
Say that, darling. That's fake news.
He says, when you say that, darling, that's fake news.
I don't go to war.
He says, I don't go to war.
Listen, be quiet. Listen.
She says, listen, be quiet.
You don't listen. You never listen.
You don't listen. You never listen.
That's why you're second rate.
That's why you're second rate.
We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities.
We're not going to war. We're going to clean up our cities.
We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5
We're going to clean them up so they don't kill 5 people
every weekend.
every weekend.
That's not war. That's common sense.
That's not war. That's common sense. Okay. I guess he was yeah, here we go. This is 7 hours ago over on Fox, and this is back to the situation in Mexico with Trump escalating the fight against Mexican drug cartels to a level never seen before, it says here, declaring them terrorist organizations and ordering the U.S. military to prepare for potential drone strikes. Now, not just surveillance, but strikes and raids deep within Mexican territory. And this is Jesse Waters in all his smugness. He's so humble, isn't he?
Fox News alert, we're at war. This enemy, they don't wear a uniform. They're moving fentanyl by the truckload.
I want you to look at the contraband that's in front of me. We have right in 20 kilograms of fentanyl that's in front of me on this table. That's enough to kill 10 million people. The work that we do is to protect people and make sure that we remove these weapons and drugs off of our streets and hold those criminals accountable who would go forward and continue to use that to harm individuals.
Cartels are now officially in the Pentagon's crosshairs. And it's not just the wall anymore. Trump ordered the kill shot. The days of local drug busts and random motels, they were fun, but that's Breaking Bad stuff. Trump wants to take the fight to El Chapo's front yard.
We're talking about sending military forces to fight against the drug cartels in Latin America. Do you think it's worth sending our forces, our U.S. forces there to take this on?
Cartels where?
Central Latin America.
Well, Latin America's got a lot of cartels. They've got a lot of drugs flowing. So, we want to protect our country. We have to protect our country. We haven't been doing it for 4 years. And we love this country like they love their countries. We have to protect our country. So, we're playing a tough game.
According to the New York Times, behind the scenes, Trump's moving all the pieces into place to pull this off. Mexico's got a big problemo.
Yes, but it has nothing to do with Mexican territory. It has to do with their country. It does not involve our territory.
So it would be within the United States?
Within the United States, exactly.
El Presidente doesn't comprehende. This isn't a Mexican standoff. This is an order. The CIA is already flying surveillance drones over Mexican territory, gathering intel on the battle space. And Trump's not sending diplomats. He's sending Hegseth, maybe with a new title.
Secretary of Defense, Secretary of War, Department of Defense, Department of War?
Well, that's what it was for many, many years. You gave me that knife hand, Will. We'll see. Stand by. I don't get in front of the commander-in-chief on that. But our job is to ensure our enemies know exactly what they will do to them if they threaten us, up to and including total war. So we'll be prepared. Stand by. There might be some news on that.
Yeah, this is
about
Thursday,
protecting the homeland from groups like the Sinaloa cartel. They import fentanyl from China and traffic it into the United States. Look at that. Trump designated them terrorists. And if they get cute, they're getting Soleimani'd.
You know who did the roadside bomb, right? Soleimani. Where is he? Where is he?
Former U.S. Army Special Forces and president of World Strat, Jim Hansen. Jim, what kind of operations do you envision happening in Central and South America in this cartel war?
Jesse, I don't think anybody would be more thrilled than me to watch some helmet cam footage of a bunch of JSOC pipe hitters rappelling out of helicopters and stacking cartel members like cordwood. Now, that's the ultimate. I don't know that we'll probably open with that. There's likely to be a lot of increased surveillance. There may be some raids to pick up some people to arrest and put on trial. There'll be some interdiction off the coasts. The Navy can cover a lot more territory than the Coast Guard can, and together they can cover both the exfil from Central and South America and the infill to us. So there's a lot of things to start with, but this is a tremendous step they're taking.
All right, so they could seize some guys off the field and bring them here and put them on trial. Could they also just drone strike these cartel bad guys right in their backyard?
That's a lawyer question, but I'm going to give you the common sense answer. If their cartels are killing people in the United States and the MS-13 and Tren gangs are, why can't we kill their leaders just the same way President Trump pointed out we took care of Soleimani?
That would be an imminent threat, right? I mean, if these guys are cooking up all this fentanyl and sending it into the cities and people are acting like zombies and keeling over, that's an imminent threat to the life and well-being of the American citizenry.
Absolutely. And I think the rationale we use for other terrorists we've killed through multiple administrations, Barack Obama still, I think, holds the record for the number of people killed overseas by drone strikes, including one U.S. citizen. So I think President Trump deciding that these guys who are definitely killing Americans with drugs, torturing and running people with human trafficking and child trafficking, those are things that I think all of America can look at and say, we don't need to allow that. And anything we do to them is probably justified at this point.
Now, the Mexican president, she's played nice so far on trade, but it's a big no bueno, she says, if we start launching direct action into her territory. It's not even really her territory. I guess technically it is, but the cartels control almost that entire country. What does that do to Mexico?
Yeah, I mean, that is not her decision. She's the one who runs a country that allows that to happen. So if she wants to go ahead and try and tell President Trump, we can't do that, we're going to do what we need to, and she's going to go ahead and face the consequences. That's something they've allowed for far too long.
All right. Well, it looks like that time's up. Jim Hansen, good to talk to you.
Translation, just simple terms. They're saying the United States can do whatever the hell it wants, anywhere it wants, anytime it wants, if they decide that there's anything going on anywhere that they don't like. Borders don't matter. USA number one. America first. American interest. Just whatever America wants to do. And when the president does it, it's not a crime because I guess the United States is above the law, or certainly the president, and anybody that takes direction from him would then be above the law of any other country in the world. And the sovereignty of other nations doesn't matter. Borders don't matter because technically Mexico is under the sovereign control of the Mexican government and Sheinbaum, but not really, because the United States can do whatever it wants. And so I have to wonder, how much time do we have before the Trump administration invades Canada? Based on this pretext of us being some giant fentanyl exporter, which obviously we're all just letting it happen. What day is it? It's the 7th of September. Give it till Wednesday.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, there was an Edmonton-based Canadian Armed Forces member who was deployed in Latvia, went missing. He has been found dead. Warrant Officer George Hole previously reported missing Tuesday. Now, there's a news release that has been distributed now by the Department of National Defense in Canada, and it has confirmed his death. And they say that the Canadian Forces Military Police are working with Latvian authorities on an investigation. They say there's no indication that his death poses an increased threat to deployed members' safety and security in that country. Hole was a vehicle technician. He was with the 408 Tactical Helicopter Squadron and was part of an operation with the Aviation Battalion to the NATO Multinational Brigade in Latvia. He had served for 20 years. And so the death remains, the circumstances of that death remain under investigation. Today, of course, it's the day of news magazine programs, and Volodymyr Zelensky featured on ABC, and this was a pre-recorded interview just done, I guess, just prior to the largest drone attacks on Kyiv since the beginning, and actually the largest swarmed drone attacks on Ukraine since the beginning of the full-scale military invasion in Ukraine by Russia. And he says that the Trump Alaska summit gave Putin really what he wanted, what Putin wanted. And that in itself is, of note. But there were other things that are food for thought as the war in Ukraine with Russia continues to drag on, no end in sight. Here we go. This is, we'll play a little bit of today's exchange.
We're injured. This American-owned building, do you think Putin targeted this on purpose?
I think nobody knows, maybe only God. Yes, but Putin knows what he's doing here.
See, that's because after the summit, Putin, he did nothing to deter the aggression, the conflict over there. Putin just turned around, increased the drone attacks, and then it seemed almost like it was an insult to Trump, like a thumbing his nose at President Trump. Putin actually took out a U.S.-owned factory inside Ukraine.
1,000 kilometers, the distance to the front, even a little bit more.
Not an area that's usually hit.
No.
In fact, this region in southwest Ukraine, hundreds and hundreds of miles from the front line, has rarely been hit over the course of the war. The factory produces everyday items from coffee machines to lamps to printer cartridges and is the largest employer in the region.
This is coffee machine. Really, I'm not sure that it's dangerous for Russia, second biggest army in the world.
President Trump said he wasn't happy with this attack and set a 2-week deadline for Zelensky and Putin to meet. Mr. President, you talk about more sanctions and more tariffs and more help from President Trump. And you have told him you think he has the power to do this. And yet the deadlines pass again and again, and another one has passed.
We all understand that we need additional pressure on Putin. We need pressure from the United States. And I said that I think that President Trump is right about that. Europeans, I'm very thankful to all the partners, but some of them, they continue buy oil and Russian gas, and this is not fair. To be open and to be clear, it's not fair. So we have to stop buy any kind of energy from Russia, and by the way, anything. Any deals with Russia, we can't have any deals if we want to stop them. The most power has White House, and I really count that President Trump will do it with pressure on Putin, and this is only one way how to stop the killer. You need to take off his, to take off his weapon. Energy is his weapon.
You saw the meeting this week, though, between Modi and Putin and Xi. And President Trump has said that they have gone to the dark side with China. When you saw Modi there, who has helped Russia, so did the plan backfire of trying to put sanctions on them?
No, I think the idea to put tariffs on the countries who continue make deals with Russia, I think this is right idea.
Presidents Trump and Putin met 3 weeks ago in Alaska, but on the ground here in Ukraine, little has changed. Russia continues to pummel the country. The summit in Alaska. What was that like?
I was not there.
You were not there.
I was not there. What can I say?
You were here, and you were watching that summit. What did you think when you saw that, and you saw the red carpet, and you saw Putin arrive to talk about your country?
I don't know. I think that it was a bilateral summit, and it's a pity that Ukraine was not there, because I think that President Trump gave Putin what he wanted. He wanted very much to meet with President Trump, with the President of the United States, and I think that Putin got it, and it's a pity. Putin doesn't want to meet with me, but he wants very much to meet with the President of the United States to show everybody video and images that he is there.
He said he will meet if you come to Moscow.
He can come to Kiev. If a person doesn't want to meet during the war, of course he can propose something which can't be acceptable by me or by others. But it's understandable. I can't go to Moscow when my country is under missiles, under attacks each day. I can't go to this capital of these terrorists. It's understandable, and he understands it. It's the same proposition, as I said, that he has to come to Kiev. Yeah, so it's understandable that he is doing it to postpone the meeting. We said, I always said we can't trust Putin. He plays games, and he's playing games with the United States. I think so. It's to my mind.
Do you think the possibility for a bilateral meeting is dead at this point?
No, it was signal from the president and from President Trump, and I said, look, Mr. President, I'm ready for any kind of meeting, but not in Russia. Any kind of meeting, bilateral, trilateral, we'll be happy if you will be, and even preconditions which we had at the very beginning of the year, that ceasefire and then meeting. Then we spoke about security guarantees and then meeting. By the way, I'm thankful to the United States that if in the Washington, D.C., when we had meeting, the president said that America will be in security guarantees, and hope that it will be.
I know you don't want to give any details about what you specifically discussed in Paris, but they have said they will provide security guarantees if there is a ceasefire, if there is peace. Tell us what you can. Does that mean thousands of troops, European troops, not U.S.?
The first is a strong Ukrainian army, and I think that everybody understands it. Generals from the EU, United States, they understand that any security guarantees in Ukraine can be based only on our army. Then American weapon, which only United States has. It's air defense, Patriot, priority missiles and HIMARSs, and
how about air support? Any kind of air support?
Yeah, and
in addition,
plus Europeans, and of course we spoke about air support. We need air defense shield, but shield is not only air defense systems, and it's also about the jets. Jets, we used F-16s. We have old F-16s be open, but they're good. We can work
better
on
than
that.
nothing, for sure.
It's true. We are thankful for everything. Yeah.
Are you
okay? So obviously, far from over, and that illustrated again, even just in the last couple of days, where even overnight Russia hit Ukraine again with a massive swarm of drones, the biggest one yet. Some of the drones actually went through Belarus. And this is raising eyebrows because just like the United States in Latin America, Russia, it seems, is just ignoring borders these days, because it's not the first time Russian drones have strayed into other sovereign territory on their way to Ukraine. I've got a clip here. Yeah, they've gone through Moldova, Romania, Belarus. Okay, let's run this. This is off Ukrainian television. I think we have subtitles here. They're talking about the wayward drones. This is not the first time, he says, that we have had such a massive attacks. Of course, the enemy makes miscalculations, calculates all the routes, and it is not the first time that the territories of other states, both in the north and in the south, we know Moldova, when these were precedents when missiles and drones could access certain sections of the border. Yes, and this time, several martyrs were recorded on the Belarusian side, cutting their way, so to speak, through Belarusian territory. In other words, it's a shorter route. They took a shortcut through Belarus on their way to their target destinations in Ukraine. And then more to this whole war on drugs, which may actually be something more than that. We're seeing videos like this released tonight. This showing the U.S. Marines and Navy sailors carrying out an amphibious landing exercise in Puerto Rico. And they're right in the neighborhood there, of course, of Venezuela, which is making some, even within Trump circles, begin to question, is there another agenda in play here? This is from Forbes. U.S. Navy holds training exercises in Puerto Rico. And I'm not playing the audio because I don't want a copyright strike. Here they come. Look at the size of those things. Right up on the beach. I'm going to stand up to that. So that's how that's the way they fight the war on drugs these days. So much for the Coast Guard and border security and intercepting drug shipments at the border. So much for trials. Just go to the countries that you don't like, target them, and just start, I don't know. We'll see what they do. We heard some suggestions there in that one interview with Jesse Waters. Or was it Jesse Waters? I believe so. The guy says, maybe we'll just go in there and start arresting people, bring them back here to the United States and put them on trial. So now I guess you're allowed to go into other sovereign countries, start targeting people. You're not just rounding people up to deport them from the United States. Now you're going to go into the other countries and start rounding people up there too. Only you're going to drag them all the way back to the United States, put them on trial, and do who knows what to them. I don't know. This is also, I think, unprecedented, or is it? I'll be right back.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out. of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Speaking of raids and immigration, we saw earlier this week ICE raiding a Hyundai battery plant in Georgia. They arrested, was it 300 approximately South Korean workers? It disrupted operations down there. Some people applauding, other people wondering what the heck is going on. The South Korean government vowing support, and now it looks like we have some sort of a deal struck between Seoul and Washington. The workers were likely not employed legally in the United States, but South Korea has warned that the U.S. should ensure the event is as undamaging as possible to their interests. And I know that some of those detained have been able to secure legal counsel, and we're getting a variety of stories out of there. But the South Korean government has been trying to support these workers who are there, many of them on in the country. I've heard under visa waiver programs or something. I don't know. Maybe you're grasping at straws there, but it looks like some sort of a deal has now been struck. So we'll pick up this clip here from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in South Korea. It says the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE conducted a raid on Thursday, September 4th, local time.
미국 이민세관 단속국은 현지 시간 9월 4일 목요일
at the construction site of our company's battery plant located in the state of Georgia. During the operation, a number of our nationals were detained. In the course of U.S. law enforcement, the economic activities of our investing companies and the rights and interests of our nationals must not be unjustly infringed. So the South Korean president has vowed support for those workers. Lee Jae-myung ordered all-out efforts yesterday to swiftly respond to the arrests of hundreds of the country's citizens, and they have set up a team to respond to the arrests. Still playing out. Oh, how things have changed and how quickly in the United States. Okay. Another short break. Be right back. Queuing up more.
Maverick News. Fighting for freedom.
Queen Romana Didulo, some people call her Romana the Dildo. She, self-proclaimed Queen of Canada. Well, you know, there were these arrests that took place at their compound out in Saskatchewan. Some people call them a cult. They've been the subject of extreme community concern out in Saskatchewan. Well, Didulo was arrested earlier this week, and now they're saying that parts of a former school that was serving as their compound, their headquarters, their home, really, has now been declared unfit for human habitation. And all of the Romana Didulo followers have been ordered to evacuate. This order coming from the Saskatchewan Health Authority. And they sent out an email that the occupancy of the building in Richmond is prohibited under Section 22 of the Public Health Act on the basis that the premises is a multi-person residence and is not connected to the municipal sewer system. The email says an order was issued for anyone who is currently occupying the building to vacate, although it notes the order covers the building only and not trailers on the site. So this is a lesson in governance and how to use the justice system creatively. This is done all the time, and not just for legal reasons, but also for political reasons, especially in Canada, when areas of jurisdiction become diluted for certain levels of government, especially the federal government. Sometimes you reach for other tools in the toolbox in order to affect a result that you really want, but you can't take the direct approach. So they can't just walk in there and tell these people, just get out, we don't like you. So they had to find a pretext, a justification, but it has to be legitimate so it stands up to legal scrutiny, and that's what they've done here. This is partly what led to arrests earlier this week when the RCMP moved in and arrested, I think it was 17 people just a couple of days ago. Here's the RCMP in Saskatchewan at their news conference explaining a little bit about, well, they just didn't hold back, man. They were not taking any chances. They went in there and certainly not Trump style, because they didn't have aircraft carriers or destroyers, because it's a little bit landlocked there in Saskatchewan, but they did roll in there with some pretty heavy duty resources.
After receiving this report, Saskatchewan RCMP began an extensive investigation. This included careful monitoring of any risk to public safety and to the community of Richmond. A team of skilled and experienced senior officers was established to oversee this large and complex operation. This response was made up of RCMP officers from throughout the province, including our critical incident response team, tactical support group, containment team, police dog services, provincial general investigation section, remotely piloted aircraft system, and detachment members. We also had assistance from Regina Police Services SWAT program.
They were not messing around.
There were more than 30 police vehicles along with 2 tactical vehicles at the scene. The safety of the public and our officers is the top priority in any situation. We carefully examined the components of the property prior to the execution of the search warrant. This maximized the likelihood of a quick, smooth, and safe operation. There were approximately 8 RVs parked on the property. A team of officers cleared the RVs, while another team methodically cleared the building from one side to the other. Officers arrested 17 individuals. 10 were arrested inside the building, 6 were arrested in the RVs, and 1 was arrested outside a residence in Richmond. The buildings were cleared and all individuals were arrested by 6 a.m. The next phase of the investigation is now in its early stages. Investigators are still in the process of searching the building, collecting evidence, and interviewing those arrested. At this time, no charges have been laid. As of the last update from investigators, which was received at 11:30 this morning, we have located and seized 4 replica handguns, 1 inside the building and 3 inside vehicles. While clearing the property, officers observed modifications that had been made to the existing structure. We notified fire investigators with the Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency, who are now engaged in their own investigation. We understand that there's a lot of interest in this investigation and the next steps. The Saskatchewan RCMP is committed to transparency. We will provide more information as we're able, while being mindful of the investigational integrity and privacy responsibilities. I think what's important to highlight today is the excellent work done by our investigative team. Their dedication, attention to detail, and professionalism allowed this operation to unfold without injury or risk to public safety. This operation was incredibly complex and robust. We drew on the RCMP and partner resources from across the province to successfully execute this search warrant. Throughout the investigation, the safety of the public and the residents of Richmond has been the highest priority and was constantly considered. Finally, I thank the residents of Richmond for their ongoing patience as this investigation continues to unfold.
Okay. Queen Romana Didulo, self-proclaimed Queen of Canada, does not believe in the Canadian legal system, follows some sort of natural law. She certainly isn't a democracy, since she makes these proclamations of her own. And yeah, definitely of extreme concern to some people. Do a little Twitter scroll here on this. A lot of community and even national reaction to the arrests of these people associated with the Didulo movement, the Queen of Canada. Some say it's a cult. I don't know what you think. I think she's kind of crazy. Here's Dabumasan. He says it's the high treason party. Romana, the grifting dildo. Didulo arrested. Will any charges actually shut this fraud down? Yeah, he seems to think it's a big grift. A lot of people seem to share that view. Let's listen in.
We are live on the Rumble, on the YouTube, and on the Substack. YouTube now has super chats, just so you know. There's also memberships if you really care. We'll see how long we last over there on the YouTuber. But yes, it's a high treason party, as Remote Viewer 57 says. Let's get that on the screen, because that is exactly what this is. It's a high treason party, as you can see, from the Queen herself, taking notes of who has been part of the smear campaigns against HRM Queen Romana Didulo the Dildo. The first. High treason. Hashtag high treason. Hi, Dawn. What's up, everybody? So we're going to commit some high treason, apparently, according to her. Let's see here. I got a couple of different things, but this is the reason. So there's a lot to report on this one. However, this is what took place.
Approximately 4:30.
Okay, so we heard all that. You're getting the idea, right? It is funny and yet not funny, because some people have their lives invested in this. We've seen them try to arrest police officers before and get arrested themselves. Here, let's take a look. Just a little scroll down. Some people really like to mock the dildulettes. Yeah. There she is. There's the Queen herself. Your Royal Majesty Queen Romana Didulo the First. All our love for you, from Jorg, whoever Jorg is. Oh, there he. Okay, let's take a look at his Twitter profile, shall we? See what he's all about. So he says, Die Open Society und Die Tides Foundation. Sind zwei von vielen Erdenstickchen. I don't understand. NGOs. You're getting the idea. George Soros, Globalism Network, organization mention. No, sorry, don't speak that language. Anyway, Soros-funded NGOs. Protest in America. Doing my best here. Okay. Allison Pizzagate. He's reposting that. He's Uberstung, Russland.
But I'm too wildly excited to not say anything. Okay, guys, I'm sorry if I sound and look tired, and if I haven't shaved, I'm not well currently. But I'm too wildly excited to not say anything because, one of the most important men in Russia, his name is Kirill Alexandrovich Dmitriev. He is a special envoy from Russia to America. He was in Washington, D.C. in April. He is a connection between Putin and Trump. He is the head of the Sovereign Wealth Fund in Russia. Very, very high-ranking, very important man. He has been consistently posting about Q, telling the whole world that is paying attention that Q is not only real, but that America and Russia are collaborating in this Q operation to save the world. Guys, this has a strategic purpose. If he has clearance to do this, if he has permission to tell everybody that America and Russia are working together, I mean, Trump has to give permission for that. Putin has to agree with it. Why are they doing that? Very simple, because something is up, something is happening. Even if, I'm not saying that, but even if there would be a so-called war, I would call it a movie war, but between America and Russia, I believe that it would be a Q operation to wake up humanity and to take out bad actors around the world. It could be very hard, very difficult, very, severe, but the outcome will be controlled. The outcome will be part of taking down this satanic evil worldwide. Guys, we have no reason to be blackpilled or discouraged. Something else I really want to put out there is that President Trump has this account called Papi Trumpo. Here you can see him confirm that this account is indeed from him.
Win this. Yeah, where it says parody account right on it. So it's obviously directly from him.
You are. You're going to win this.
We're going to win.
Yes, we are.
We don't win, this country is finished.
Appreciate you guys. Are you Papi Trumpo?
Yeah, I think so.
Well, there's your proof.
Now, this is indescribably phenomenal. Why? Because President Trump has a team of very intelligent creatives who are making AI videos and images and whatnot.
I don't doubt some of that. I think that there's truth to that. The whole Tren de Aragua drug boat thing, it may actually just be AI, just like the leaders in Venezuela are alleging.
With an enormous amount of humor.
Because he doesn't have to actually shoot anybody, kill anybody, but he gets what he wants because he still gets the justification to move in and do whatever he's planning to do down there in Venezuela. And it puts the pressure on Maduro. And if he's after regime change, maybe he can affect that simply by having a video produced. And he didn't actually have to have anybody killed or fire a shot. I don't know. Or it could be real. We don't know anymore because nobody knows what's real anymore. You just get to pick your reality, I guess.
It's not just jokes. It's not just funny. There's a phenomenal reality at play here. This is literally part of the Q operation, where they are.
And we know that Q has been described by many, including some around General Paul Vallely, who seems to have had some connection, maybe even to the creation of Q. I don't know. He seems to waffle back and forth, but he's definitely involved. Just let him talk.
Sorry if I sound will be controlled. The outcome will be part of taking down this satanic evil worldwide. Guys, we have no reason to be blackpilled or discouraged. Something else I really want to put out there is that President Trump has this account called Papi Trumpo.
That's
team
not
of very intelligent creatives who are making AI videos and images and whatnot with
Where do I get a job doing
enormous
that?
amount of
I'd like to get
humor,
paid.
but it's not just jokes. It's not just funny. There's a phenomenal reality at play here. This is literally part of the Q operation, where they are in a funny way giving us behind the scenes understanding of what's really going on. So I have seen some of the highest level military top secret intel being revealed on Papi Trumpo in the form of jokes. Guys, if you pay attention, then this is an indescribable source of encouragement, because, you know, for the public, we see Trump dining with Bill Gates and we just cringe. It's heartbreaking to see. But then on Papi Trumpo, he says what he really thinks, okay?
Well, I just wanted to apologize for every single fucking version of Windows that sucked, which is basically all of them. Also, sorry for creating viruses just so I could profit from selling you the antivirus software. And on that note, sorry for spreading real viruses by profiting from vaccines and shit. Also, sorry for sterilizing so many of you. There's just too many of us, and some of you are not nice. That's why I'm trying to block out the sun. Anyway, I just came here to ask for a pardon from all the Epstein shit. Thank you.
And that helps us understand. You know,
I don't think that was real. I don't think so. I don't think that was really Bill Gates saying that. I think that was the AI thing. I think maybe like the Kevin O'Leary thing. I think maybe. I don't know. Am I wrong? Am I going to get more hate mail? Anybody want to go to the haters channel now because I said that? I just saying.
There
just trying to help.
Something happening in our world that is so beautiful, so indescribably phenomenal. If we pay attention, if you look a little deeper, then we know that there is indeed a Q operation. They are telling us through Papi Trumpo right now what's going on.
See, I knew it. You know what it is? Trump wants to be part of our Maverick Midnight Matinee watch parties. He's all ready. He's got his popcorn, his 3D glasses. He's all set. Now sit back and enjoy libs defending guns, he says. He just, he's ready with his fresh popcorn.
They are doing a lot of things worldwide that are going to shock everyone. You know, it could get extremely intense in the near future, but the outcome will be phenomenal. So guys, keep your hopes up, because we are going to see something that all of humanity has longed for from the beginning of this world. Follow me here if you want to hear more.
Okay. Thank you for giving me such hope. I saw that video with Gates the day after the tech dinner, the dinner between all the tech giants and Trump. And I laughed. I was going to run it for you that night. I'm kind of glad I didn't now, because we got to run it here as part of his little online post. It's just, that's funny. That is funny. Does anybody think that was real? Does anybody think that was really Bill Gates saying that? No. Yeah, Dragon, I know that was German, man. I'm looking in the chat. I don't speak German. I can't really read it. Yeah, not my queen, says Dragon. That's true. Not my queen either. No, it's not real. It's absolutely 100% fake. But I don't know if that, I'm wondering, I think maybe that guy knows it's not real, but he's telling you it's real because he's trying to be, I don't know, is he joking around, or is he trying to manipulate us? Don't know. I don't know. Oh, man. Well, that gets us pretty close to the top of the hour. Just a couple of other stories here. I should have just left her there because that's a great kicker for the end of the program. Nevertheless, we do have this to share with you tonight as well. And it is important, especially if you're a Canuckistanian, because, and really anybody, a citizen of the world, because Treasury Secretary, Trump's Treasury Secretary, says the U.S. and European Union must partner together to collapse the Russian economy. This coming from Scott Bessent. He says if the Supreme Court rules against the administration on tariffs, refunding the funds would be terrible for the Treasury. Yeah, no kidding. You've scooped up billions and billions and billions of dollars in tariffs from U.S. taxpayers, companies paying those tariffs coming in. It's affected negatively all the economies around the world, including the United States, because you're getting less trade. Let me show you the NBC headline here. This is all about the Sunday political talk shows right here, where Bessent appears on NBC. Meet the Press. There it is there. There's the headline. Let's listen in just a little bit, shall we?
In an interview, the numbers look, quote, weak. And you just heard me say there that Moody's chief economist called this a jobs recession. I want to give you the opportunity to respond to Mark Zandi. Do you see this as a jobs recession?
Yep.
Well, Kristen, when I was here with you in April, there was a panic because the stock market had gone down, and you remained pretty calm, but a lot of other mainstream media people were in a complete lather over the stock market performance. President Trump held the views on tariffs. He was proven right. We had the quickest stock market recovery in history. We're at new highs in August. And, we're not going to do economic policy off of one number. We believe that good policies are in place that are going to create good, high-paying jobs for the American people. Two, let's look at the efficacy of this number. August is the noisiest month of the year. Typically, the highest revisions come in August. That's why it's important that we have good data. Austin Goolsbee, who's head of the Chicago Fed and probably the most partisan person at the Federal Reserve in leadership, came out and said, I don't know if these numbers were that weak. I don't know if I'm going to vote for a cut in September because it may have something to do with the immigration deportations. So this is why we need good data. Three, if in fact these numbers are true, it shows that President Trump was right about the Federal Reserve. They are too late. And because of the bad numbers, they likely would have been cutting in June. And if we believe the numbers, and four, I can tell you the one thing this administration is not going to do, and we are not going to let the Democrat media surrogates do, is during President Biden, President Harris's campaign, they told the American people it's a vibe session. You don't understand how good you have it. President Trump was elected for change, and we are going to push through with the economic policies that are going to set the economy right. I believe by the fourth quarter, we're going to see a substantial acceleration.
Okay, well, we'll have you back definitely to check back in with you then. But let me drill down a little bit more on these numbers, Mr. Secretary. The president said that these tariffs are going to spark a manufacturing renaissance, he called it. But since he announced them in April, the U.S. has actually lost 42,000 manufacturing jobs. Are these numbers proof that the tariffs are failing to produce the manufacturing jobs that President Trump promised?
Again, Kristen, it's been a couple of months, and with the manufacturing sector, as you know, we can't snap our fingers and have factories built. So what we are seeing is a record amount of investment intentions. We've seen a CapEx boom in the first half of the year, and I think that was actually held back. The One Big Beautiful Bill, which has full expensing for factories and equipment, was passed on July 4th. Many companies were holding back then. So we are going to see construction jobs and we're going to see manufacturing jobs.
But Mr. Secretary, the economy did add nearly 500,000 manufacturing jobs under former President Biden. In this case, since April, again, you're actually losing manufacturing jobs. Is that problematic for your policy?
Well, a couple of things, Chris. We're going to get the revisions for last year next week. And there may be as big as an 800,000 job downward revision. Again, this would be the second downward revision. So I'm not sure what these people who collect the data have been doing. It's good. We need good data. Secondly, what we are seeing is the jobs that are being created are going to either native-born or legal Americans. Most of the jobs created under the Biden administration, they went to illegal aliens.
Well, and I think that there would be a lot of debate over the fact that they went to illegal aliens, but let's keep moving.
No.
Regardless, there's less economic activity if you're laying people off. If you're producing less, there's less money going back into the economy. And I just say this, don't worry at all. Everything is going to be fine, because if the numbers suck, Trump will just make up new ones.
That's the fact.
Okay, let's keep moving
It'll be
though, because
okay.
I want to talk about what U.S. companies are saying right now, Mr. Secretary. The New York Times wrote this about John Deere, the impact that tariffs are having on that company. Quote, last month, John Deere said net income in its most recent quarter was down 29% from a year earlier. Higher tariffs have cost the company $300 million so far, with nearly another $300 million expected by the end of the year. This summer, the company laid off 238 employees across factories in Illinois and Iowa. What do you say to companies like John Deere who say these tariffs are hurting them?
Well, first of all, Kristen, if you're quoting the New York,
just remember, this is all on the U.S. side, and I hear these economic simpletons out there who just keep their economic arguments are just give up. I'm talking about Canadians now on the Canadian side. These influencers who they just instantly go to, oh, look how stupid the elbows up thing is. That's not an economic discussion. All right. It's just that's an emotional political talking point. And the reality is it's hurting both countries. It's hurting Canada and it's hurting the US. And it's just everyday average people who are paying the biggest price through higher prices, and even hurting companies, because it's creating a less efficient economy. It's hurting the jobs. It's hurting job creation. It's hurting productivity.
Times, that's not a fair observer. And two, that
but these are statistics.
That's
this
one.
This is about John Deere.
That's
not
one,
about the New York Times.
That's one.
Don't worry about it. Trump's got new numbers all ready to go.
Company that they have cherry picked. At Treasury, we have about 2 management teams come through a day, and overwhelmingly, we are hearing from companies they plan to increase capex, they plan to increase employment. We are seeing what's going to be a record amount of foreign direct investment. And for every John Deere, we have companies who are telling us the tariffs have helped our business. We're increasing capex and we're going to increase employment.
But Mr. Secretary, it's not just John Deere. We've heard from a lot of different companies around the country. Nike says that tariffs will cost the company around $1 billion this year. Black & Decker says $800 million. The big 3 automakers all say they've had to pay more than $2 billion in tariffs. The list goes on and on. Yep. Bottom line, do you acknowledge that these tariffs amount to attacks on the American people?
Well, first of all, let's back up, because what we've seen, for instance, the Japanese automakers.
See, tariffs applied in this manner, like across the board, pretty much, it affects the price of every single input on the manufacturing side. And that makes U.S. manufacturing far less efficient. And you can get away with it if you're just selling to yourself. But if you want to export, that makes your products that much less competitive on the international market. So it's a big freaking problem for U.S. manufacturers.
Have said they're eating the tariffs.
But these companies say they're eating the tariffs. These American companies.
They're eating the tariffs. So, and again, there are numerous companies who are doing the opposite. You're taking these from earnings calls, and on earnings calls, they have to give the draconian scenario. There aren't companies coming out and saying, oh, because of the tariffs, we're doing this. But I can tell you that whether it's Micron or Apple, they are upping their investments in the United States. And, Kristen, if things are so bad, Why was the GDP 3.3%? Why is the stock market at a new high? Because, with President Trump, we care both about big companies and small companies, and you're quoting big companies, but the big company index, the S&P, is at a new high.
Hasbro says they're going to have to increase their prices. Goldman Sachs says 86% of the tariff revenue collected so far has been paid by American businesses and consumers. So just bottom line, Mr. Secretary, do you acknowledge that these tariffs are a tax on American consumers?
No, I don't.
Even though you have companies saying they are going to have to increase prices, and given the fact that 86% of these tariffs so far have been paid by Americans.
You're quoting Goldman Sachs. So
yes, Goldman Sachs, correct.
I made
Which I said, yeah.
I made a good career trading against Goldman Sachs.
Okay, all right.
All right, enough. It goes on and on. What else are we missing tonight? Oh, the tariff thing, man. That's going to hear more about that this coming weekend. We're also going to hear, I think, in the days ahead, like a lot of just a big changes in the way the economy is structured, I think. So let me take a quick break. We'll come back on the other side, and we're getting near the end. So hang in there.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
Okay, I have no idea what this is, but I need something to lighten you up a little bit. Just leave you with something a little on the light side tonight, because there's so much heavy news out there. So I'm going to share this with you. I haven't even had time to watch the whole thing, but it looks appropriate. And it reminds me of something from my elementary school days, which I will share with you at the end. Okay? I have no idea what this is.
And that's how you successfully... Our largest client is now in a bulk phase. Let's begin. And that's how you successfully make a bulking meal.
I don't know. But you know what it reminds me of? My one of my grade 6 teachers who used to say, "How now, brown cow?" There was a reason behind it. It's because at the time the school was divided into color houses, essentially teams, and you would compete for points. And if there were sometimes quizzes or just other friendly competitions between the color houses or the teams, I was on the brown team. Our class was the brown team, or our group. And so the teacher who was the head of the brown color house, and actually it was made up of kids from different classes. So the teacher used to stand up at the front of the class and would always say, "How now, brown cow?" And then we would be in back in those days, quads, where you had like 4 classes in one giant room. And so he'd make us say it really loud to intimidate the other teams. We'd all say it together very loudly. We'd say, "How now, brown cow?" And all the other kids from the other color houses would look over their shoulders like, "What the heck is going on over there?" Anyway, that's what it reminded me of. It's totally insane, but given the nature of the content from tonight's broadcast, I think it was entirely appropriate, because we had everything from, fake AI Bill Gates to a possible fake AI drug boat being blowed up again to Queen Romana Didulo being arrested and saying that we're all going to be held accountable for high treason for putting her on trial. We shall see. Until we get to that point, I have to look for real hope, though, to someone who's going to defend Canada, even from the American side, Captain Ass Kicker. And I will leave you with Maverick and the News Brothers and Captain Ass Kicker until tomorrow night. And we meet again at 7 p.m. Eastern on the flip side.
Y'all better stand back. He's laced up his boots, cracked open a cold one, and somebody's about to get it. C-A-K! Well, he rolls into town on a Harley so loud, with a stars and stripes cape and a jaw like a plow. Don't need no laser beams, no high-tech tricks. He just winds up that boot and lets it fly real quick. He kicks ass to the left, kicks ass to the right. Captain Ass Kicker's looking for a fight. From sundown to sunrise, he'll brawl and bite, 'cause Captain Ass Kicker is alright. He's the outlaw hero of this one-horse town, putting punks in their place, laying bad guys down. Ain't no Cape Crusader wearing tights and blush, just a trucker hat and a boot full of hush. He kicks ass in the morning, kicks ass at night. C-A-K, don't care if you're wrong or right. You run your mouth, he's quick to ignite. Yeah, Captain Ass Kicker is died right. He don't fly, he don't swing from no thread. He'll just kick your ego straight out of your head. Justice don't come with a judge and a gavel. It comes with a boot and a trail of gravel. He's banned from 6 states and a Waffle House, but the people still cheer when he clears the louts. He don't play nice, don't read no scripts. He just cocked his foot. Oh, they're at risk. He kicks ass in the east, kicks ass in the west. CAK don't sleep, he don't need rest. If there's trouble brewing, he's your invite. Captain Ass Kicker is bringing the fight. So when the night gets rough and the law's too slow, you better call on the man with a steel-toed glow. Captain Ass Kicker, kicking ass since the day he learned to walk. He started.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.